business on display. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, we gon' put your business on display. I got winners on the way. You know you can't knock the hustle. And if you gotta get in place, then we gon' put your business on display. Grab a seat with Neesha for a minute. And if you got the goods, we can talk about your business. She know what it's like to make a move independently. And I don't fake it's like that. We've been trusting God like that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, we gon' put your business on display.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy middle of September. Happy early anniversary to me and Wes. Happy all things. I'm just excited. It is a fast forward season, you guys. And if you are watching this, I'm going to ask you to share because I have some a very powerful, amazing, anointed woman of God and sister friend and all things entrepreneurship and beyond, motherhood, wife, and coach, and so much more. But before we get started, I would like for you all to be on the lookout for this afternoon at 5 p.m. Central, where we will be interviewed, me and Wes, for our anniversary by Kristen Dean. So without further ado, because I want this to go, I'm just going to bring on Dr. Ruby E. Powell. Woohoo!
I love
Hi.
you, Neesha. I just love you so much.
I love you too. And let me tell you all, I thank God for Ruby for more than one reason, but she definitely is a pillar in the kingdom of God. She is an awesome prayer warrior. And alongside her husband, she's not only a speaker, but an author. She's a teacher, an educator. But earlier this year, she knocked us all into shape and said, I'm developing a CEO mindset. And that just really blessed my whole life. So before we get off into really all about the CEO mindset and all the things that Ruby has to offer, Ruby, I want you to introduce yourself, reintroduce yourself to those who don't know you, but introduce yourself to the people that do. I said it backwards, but that's okay. Go ahead, girl.
So I am Ruby E. Powell, also known as Dr. Ruby E. Powell. I am a doctor of educational leadership, and I am the executive director of Dr. Ruby E. Powell and Associates, as well as the founder and CEO of the Oasis Empowerment Zone Incorporated not-for-profit. And those two companies kind of work hand in hand, one on the not-for-profit side and the other on the for-profit side. And so on the not-for-profit side, I help to empower low-income single mothers to go from minimum wage to middle class and beyond. And then on the for-profit side, I work with professional women to help them get unstuck and to concurrent plan where they are to lead them to where they want to be.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Y'all know that's a whole lot, right? I'm very grateful. So I think you're a wife and a mother too.
Oh, yeah. I am a wife of 18 and a half years. I'm married to my Mr. Wonderful, Minister Anthony Powell, pastor, affectionately known as Pastor T. We are the parents of 4 biological children ranging in age from 30 to 13. And yes, we had 3 teenagers in 3 children in 4 years. So we have a 30-year-old, one that will be 17 at the end of this month, and a 15-year-old and 13-year-old. And I jokingly say that Mr. Powell had a midlife crisis, and I got caught in the middle of it. So yes, 3 children in 4 years, and then one that turned 30 on Sunday. All of our children are gifted, talented. They work with us in ministry and in business.
Yes, and I love when she says that Pastor T was in the middle of a midlife crisis and she got in the middle of it. That's so funny to me. But There's an anointing for people who get caught up in a midlife crisis, and there are many that still want that anointing. So
Yes.
I think it's a blessing because so many people don't feel like they feel like it's over after 35. I can't have kids after 35. I can't have anything. I miss my time, but that's not the truth. And she's
No,
a living witness, okay? And her kids
I
are
am a
flourishing,
living witness.
healthy, and doing well. But that's not
Yes.
why we're here today. One of the things I want to say, you guys, is that what I really appreciate a Ruby is because we become very close, and she really is a definite mentor and really pushes you to and believes in you, and she's definitely a coach. But I want to go back to the fact that I know you've been called to leadership as well to help people
Mhm.
push them to their full potential. But in that, we talked about how she would make it jokingly, I just need to develop my CEO mindset, and then there goes that whole course, the CEO mindset, which is coming soon. But Ruby,
Yes.
tell us a little about how you launched uh, Ruby E. Powell and Associates. What made you say, "Let me do this"?
Well, I've actually been in social services for about 35 years, and I've worked with a variety of social services. I've also been a coach, a counselor, and a consultant for many years, and I've done that mostly on the not-for-profit side, but I really saw that there was a great need for professional women to have that coach, that counselor, or that consultant. And just to talk a little bit about what I do is, of course, everybody's, the new buzzword is life coaching. So I've been
Yeah.
a certified life coach for about 12 years, and I just recently gained 2 more certifications in life coaching through Experience Leadership and the John Maxwell team. And so in doing life coaching for many, many years. And, I'm just a lover of education. So I'm always trying to expand myself. I'm always trying to expand my knowledge base. And so as I encountered more women who were saying, I'm really tired of what I'm doing, I really want to do something different. Or when I retire, I want to do whatever. And what I was finding is that those women didn't have a plan. They didn't know how to plan concurrently. They didn't know how to plan for where they want to go right where they are. And so I always coined the phrase of, you have to use your current situation to fund your future. And
Mm.
so I began to work with women around talking to them about, what is your passion? What is it that you really, if you could, if money was no object and you could do it for the rest of your life for free, what would you do? And so I started hearing people's dreams and visions, which I'm really into. And I would just say, well, let's make it happen. Let's do it. And so the other part of that is that I found out that there were a lot of women who had limiting beliefs. They had trauma-based past. They had all of those other things that was keeping them from saying, I can do something different. I can do something better. Because so often we get complacent where we are. If you got a job and it's meeting the needs and it's paying the bills, people have a tendency to stay there. I'm one of those people that's a risk taker. I'll say, you know what, God, I'm going to jump out of the boat into the water. Either I'm going to sink or swim. And what I have found is, with the right plan, with the right life jacket and all of those things, I have learned how to swim. And so I try to help other women empower themselves in leadership and in life. That's
Yeah.
my tagline. I empower women, professional women, in leadership in life, because I just don't believe in staying somewhere where you're miserable. I don't
Yeah.
believe in staying in a job just because it's paying the bills. You
Right.
can plan for your next right where you are.
That is so good. With the right plan and the right life jacket, you learned how to swim. I want to go back to something you said though, with your current situation can fund your future. I want you to expound a little bit on that, because I think some people, and I've heard this said, and then of course me and you have been on Clubhouse for a while, but I've heard this said, I don't have a title, I don't have a PhD, I'm not a pastor, I'm not a leader, so I'm really just don't know, where I'm supposed to go. How can someone's current situation, even if they're feeling desolate, can fund their future? What would that even look like for people?
Well, you know what? I can look at that from two different perspectives. In terms of financially funding your future, I always believe in, you hear people talk about saving for a rainy day. So if I'm working in a job and it's meeting my needs, I can stash away a little bit of money to begin to work towards what I want to do in the future. I've got a really good friend who's got a really good job, and she's been in social service for probably 25 years, but she's always talking about, when I retire, I want to be an interior decorator. I want to get my LCSW. She's got a master's in social work, but she's got these other things that she really wants to do. And I'm always talking to her about concurrent planning. So right now, this is what you're doing, but don't wait till you retire to start thinking about what you're going to do next. And it can be a seamless process from where I am right now to where I want to be. And so that's one side of it. The other side of it is, again, don't wait until you stop working to try to get together your finances for your next venture, because starting a business costs money. There are all types of finances that are associated with starting the business, and then there are some hidden finances that you won't know about until you get into. So you have to be prepared. And so again, you don't wait until you jump in the ocean to learn how to swim. You learn how to swim, and then you go to the ocean.
That's so good. That is so good. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, I want to marry the two of Ruby Powell and Associates and Oasis Empowerment, because you always say women, but I know you do men and women with coaching.
Yes.
But one of the things I wanted to ask you about was, you were a single mother before you met your king. And one of the things you talked about, me and you, is that you've always had drive and tenacity for more.
Yes.
What do you recommend for people to do that don't have the drive and tenacity to even see more? And I know one of them is to call on a life coach. I do know that, but that's so I know that's the facts. But how can you encourage them to see past their situation and say, you know what, I can't even afford a life coach? What tools could you tell them to use to start off, to really kind of start encouraging themselves?
The one question that I always ask, and you're absolutely right, my answer to that question was going to be, go to
Right,
www.rubyepowell.com and schedule your free 30-minute discovery call.
right.
That's the best answer. But what I would also, one of the first questions that I ask people when I begin to coach them is, what did you want to be when you grow up? What did you always dream of being? The second question I ask them is, are you doing it? Are you being that? And the third question that I ask them, especially if they say, well, no, I'm not really, what's hindering you? What stopped you from getting to where you wanted to be, to where you want to go? And is that still a dream of yours? And so in that coaching or the counseling process, we work through those things that have hindered them. That's part of the coaching process. The counseling process. The counseling process deals with the past, those
Yeah,
things that have hindered you in the past. But the
yeah.
counseling process starts you where you are right now and take you into the future. And so I actually offer
The
both.
coaching process.
The coaching
Said it
process.
twice. Yeah.
I said counseling twice,
Right.
but let me just clarify. The counseling process deals with the past. And in many cases, the counseling process gets you prepared for the coaching process. Because if you have limiting beliefs, if you have a trauma-based past, if you have all of those things that are hindering you from even thinking about going past where you are, then you'll never be successful in the coaching process. And so counseling, even though I have a master's degree in counseling and therapy, I never really wanted to do counseling. But what I discovered is, and this was through a lot of prayer and preparation, I realized that some people will never benefit from coaching if they don't deal with the past. And
Yeah.
so I do offer a short-term counseling program that will help to just hit it hard deal with the past so we can transition right into the coaching process.
Yeah, that's good. And I do know that, and I know that sometimes I know what me and Wes will say co-counts or counts co-co because sometimes
Okay.
you run into counseling and sometimes you run into coaching and really that's why we're so related because I'm all about all right, let's go, let's not we
Yeah.
can't stay there, we got to get past this, right?
Yes.
So with that being said, I think it's so amazing. So Dr. Ruby E. Powell, um our Ruby E. Powell and Associates is developed. And I know that there are many facets to it, but one of the things that I really love the most was when you said developing the CEO mindset. And I would like you to define that, especially for people that are in business already. They're working a 9 to 5, but still trying to launch and move forward. What does that really look like? Developing that CEO mindset.
Developing the CEO mindset or adopting the CEO mindset, it really starts before you get to that process. And there's a series of things that you really have to do to adopt that CEO mindset. And the first thing that you have to do is recognize the value of the investment. We have to know that there is an investment that we have to make in ourselves, in our businesses, and all of those things associated with us, so that when we get to the point of starting a business, that we're not trying to do it all. And I had to learn these things by experience. I was one of those people who didn't, I wasn't raised with a silver spoon in my mouth. So I worked. I was just sharing with somebody earlier today that as a teenager, I worked 2 jobs and went to high school because I've always wanted to work towards those things that I wanted to do. And so it got to a point where I was saying, oh, I can do that. I can do that. I can do this. And I was spinning my wheels doing all of the, if you will, grunt work, because I did not have the mindset of a CEO that can develop a team to help me to execute the things that I needed to execute. And so it got to a point, and Neesha, because you and I were in conversation when this adopting a CEO mindset came up. And we were just talking about, just how we do things. And you said to me, I don't like the detail work. And I said, well, I don't mind the detail work, but I don't have time for it. And it hit me. That's because Neesha has a CEO mindset, and I have to yet adopt that CEO mindset. So adopting that CEO mindset comes with learning how to value your investments and developing a team that will come alongside you to help you to do those things that you can't do. I'm not creative, so I will pull upon, or I will hire the person that can help me to upgrade my website, the website that I did myself, and it wasn't as successful. So I had to call on someone else who could bring in their artistic talents. I don't have the creativity to do certain things, so I had to develop a team, and that's what that CEO mindset entails. Finding out what you need as a team to make your business and your life successful, and developing that partnership.
Okay. That's a mouthful right there. Sometimes when I'm talking to people, if you all have tuned in, we're with Dr. Ruby Powell. And sometimes when I'm sitting and I'm supposed to be interviewing, I'm sitting in class learning. It's like gleaning, like it's playing like a video in my head, all the things that need to be done. So I wanted to talk about also, and it left me, oh my goodness, because I was thinking so deep about it. That startup. So say for instance, you've discovered your purpose. You're like, okay, but I'm still working this job. How can you create the balance? What are some of the suggestions you recommend for people when they have more than one, which you do, more than one assignment, I would call it. You know what I mean? How can people structure that balance? Because that has got to be difficult to be able, everybody doesn't have that. I can put my hands in all things and master them all. But I've watched you do some master the things that you do. So how can you recommend people to create balance and still be effective in everything that they do?
It takes creativity. Now, that's the part of me that's creative because I'm a very organized person. And I kind of adapted a motto a few years ago where I said that I have to work my 5 to 9 until my 5 to 9 becomes my 9 to 5. And what that means is I may be working this 9 to 5 job over here because this is what I need to do to take care of myself and my family alongside my husband. But I have to also be willing to stretch myself past that 5 o'clock hour to sit down, even if it's an hour a day or 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day, to gather those things that I need. Now, I'm never going to neglect my family. So
Okay.
in that becomes a balance and
Okay.
become a balancing act. And fortunately, because both my husband and I are business owners, we have learned the art of balancing family life, church life,
Yeah.
as well as business life. As you know, it's kind of a juggle. And so I work my 5 to 9, which means that sometimes I have to, and people
Work
ask
your
me all the
5
time,
to
well, when do
9,
you
9 to
sleep?
5. Come on through.
Yeah, I'm working my 5 to 9 until my 5 to 9 becomes my 9 to 5. In other words, when I can leave that day job and only work on the things that I'm assigned to do, which are my assignments in this season.
Yeah. And then I think what I recall was when a little bit about when you and your husband prayed about, Pastor T prayed about coming off of your, 30-year corporate job and taking those leaps of faith. And then I've watched God open doors where contracts come in where you're consulting and you're not having to, be bound by that. And so open doors will happen, would you say,
Yeah.
when you take that leap of faith of your assignment in the earth? And
Yes.
getting clients after been for years working for yourself. So I know that it can be tricky though, because so many people, and especially I'm gonna say, I don't want to say this, especially different generations
Mm-hmm.
that have not put any skin in the game, launch and then are disappointed early on when things don't move as fast. And not just all generations, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
that's just like starting anything. But when you're not getting the feedback, what do you say is the key to not get discouraged?
Well, the key to not getting discouraged is to know that this is your assignment and you can't give up when adversity shows up at your door. If you know that this is your assignment, if this is something that you were called to do, you've got to evaluate, reevaluate, use SMART goals, use SMARTer goals for those that are familiar with that process: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. But the SMARTer goals say that when things are not working the way I anticipated, I go back, I evaluate them, and then I relaunch those things that were not necessarily working well. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in the word cannot or can't.
Mm-hmm.
What I say to people, there was a time in my life when I was in grad school working on my doctorate degree. I had 3 very small children. I started my doctorate for the second time when my 13-year-old son was 8 months old. And I had a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, almost 3-year-old at home, plus a husband who was having some physical difficulties while I was working my corporate middle to upper management job. And people would say, well, how do you do that? I can't do
Yeah.
that.
No. Yeah.
I tell people, there's nothing that you can't do when you
Mm-hmm.
take the word can't out of your vocabulary. What I say to people, and it sounds snarky, it sounds smart alecky, is don't say what you can't do. Say what you're not willing to sacrifice to do. Because
Ooh.
some things do take a sacrifice. Some
Okay.
things do take you saying, I've got to work this hard right now because I
Yeah.
have an end goal. And if you start with the end in mind, the mathematical law is the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So in life, we want to go that straight line, but sometimes there are detours. But the one thing that I learned about detours is that they may take you out of the way, but they never take you backwards. Even if you're driving down the street and there's road construction, they won't say turn around and go back where you started. They may say turn left, turn right, but ultimately you're going to get to your goal. And
You're
so
gonna,
if you take the detours in life, if you recognize that there will be potholes along the way, you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. You manage the detour, you follow the detour, you go around the pothole, and you keep going forward until you get to your destination. And
wow.
so that's my encouragement to people. Take the can't out of your vocabulary. You know, if you want to use scripture, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And there were times when, honestly, I wanted to give up, but the can showed up in front of me, and I said, hey, let's do it. Let's go. And
Yeah.
that's really how I empower people to move forward. I don't recommend that everybody do what I do, but what I do in terms of working the way I work, but what
Yeah.
I do encourage people to do is to set a goal and to work towards that goal. And if you don't know how, whether it's me, whether it's Neesha, or whether it's any of the other life coaches that we're in association with, find your coach and make that investment in yourself. It wasn't until I determined, I had a coach that was telling me for years, do this, do that. You can do this. You can take some of the material that you already have and build. And I wouldn't do it until one day I decided I need a coach. So I
Yeah.
called this coach and I said, I need to get on your schedule. And I paid that coach her coaching fee. And I allowed her to coach me into my next. I'm a
Yeah.
life coach, been a life coach for a long time, but I
Yeah.
couldn't coach myself. So
Yeah.
that's the value of that investment. Knowing when you can't do it by yourself and hiring somebody if you need to come alongside you and coach you to your next.
That's so good. Well, we're going to answer a question, but one moment before we do, because I want to put this out here because my memory will leave me. And I wanted to talk about the value of investment. I'm going to let you answer this question, but the value of investment when you don't, how do you know which coach to choose? Because we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to let you answer this question, but we'll come back to that. So how do you celebrate the in-between moments? I guess that's the in-between when you're waiting and yeah, to explode.
knowing that there's only one direction, and that's forward. And so I celebrate small wins. I've actually posted it on my LinkedIn page and on my Facebook page, and I think on my Instagram page. In my other house, I had an office, and on the wall there was a small whiteboard. And let me pull it up because I'm going to read to you exactly what this whiteboard said. And I kept it right here, like on this whiteboard. I have a little message to myself, but on that whiteboard, it said, I'm sorry, let me find it real quick. It
That's
said,
fine.
celebrate small wins. For whatever reason, I can't find it. But the long and the short of it is always celebrate where you are. Don't allow yourself to get stagnant. It doesn't have to be a quantum leap or a monumental leap. If you're moving forward, sometimes you have to stand still in order to figure out the direction that you want to go. But that doesn't mean that you're stagnant. It means that you're planning for your future and knowing that there's always a direction forward. And so that's how I celebrate the in-between moments. The in-between moments are sometimes celebrated in silence while I'm learning something new. If they may be celebrated in connecting with someone else and networking, all of those are not wasted moments.
Mm-hmm.
So you celebrate the moments by not wasting the moments.
Celebrate moments by not wasting the moments. And I love that. And it's so interesting you say that because every coaching session or counseling session, when me and Wes meet with couples or when I meet with people individually, I make them celebrate the victories. That's my word. Celebrate the victories first
Yes.
before we dive into anything. And they can be personal
Yes.
victories, they can be dual victories, but you have to look at those in order to see something more. So I love that you said that. If you all have questions, please ask them. Our interview time is short, but it is so amazing right now. We're going to go a couple more minutes, but I wanted to say, Ruby, this is very key, because remember when I first dove into joining Clubhouse, the social media app, I've met amazing coaches, amazing counselors, amazing entrepreneurs, millionaires, billionaires that have poured into my life. And everybody's offering a program.
Yep.
And everybody, and if you're a coach, you're hungry for the more, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really so much as about me growing my business as much as it was, I was like a dry well that said, oh my God. And every time someone saw the value in me, I don't think it was that they were just trying to sell their program. I think people really did see value, and they're like, let me help you to do this. Let me help you to do that. So how do you know what coach to choose? What do you recommend for people to identify before, because you can spend $30 here and $50 here and free consultation here that'll take 2 hours out of your day, and then give you 30, but they give you 2 hours, and then you walk away with all this advice. Because I promise you, Neeshas Network was going to change 1,000 times due to the fact of all the coaches in my ear. And so I just took a halt and I said, I'm gonna remain consistent where we are until I can get some clarity on where we're going. And so how do you choose a coach? Because everybody sees your gift and they pulling at you.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? The first thing I would say is have a goal. You have to have a goal. And not every coach is created equally, just like every doctor is created equally. You have your obstetricians, you have your general practitioners, you have your surgeons, you have your optometrists. Not everybody have the same specialty. So you have to know what it is that your goal is, and you have to find the coach that meets your need. I know that I'm not assigned to everybody. And that was one of the reasons why Dr. Ruby E. Powell and Associate was developed, because even in working with low income single mothers on the not-for-profit side, that was my specialty there. But I saw so many other women who were professional women who were making lots of money, and they were miserable and they were stuck. And so I developed Dr. Ruby E. Powell and Associates to help those women discover their next. Neesha, you and Wes are marriage coaches. They are branding coaches. The coach that I invested in for myself was a branding and life strategy, a business strategist coach, a strategy coach. And so I knew that that's what I needed. I knew that I needed to brand myself, because this same coach told me a few years ago, stop hiding behind your not-for-profit, because you are your brand.
Yes, that's so
and
good.
I said, okay, you're right, because I was hiding behind the name Oasis Empowerment Zone, but Oasis Empowerment Zone didn't really have the power. It was Dr. Ruby E. Powell who had the goods. That was the face of Oasis Empowerment Zone. So I had to come from behind the shadows and come in front of, so that people can get what it is that they needed. And so know what you need, and discover or find the coach that can meet that particular need. I wouldn't go to an optometrist to have foot surgery.
Yeah.
Because that's not their specialty.
Yeah. Yeah. So you do believe in taking advantage of the free consultations, because a lot of people just take your money and not really offer you, they're not the fit for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So would you recommend people literally just taking the consultations first and seeing if it's a fit, or just to invest either way?
Yeah, you know what? I would. One of the things that I do offer that free 30-minute consultation, but what I suggest that people do is look at the person's website, look at whatever type of information they put out, look at their Instagram, look at their Facebook page. A lot of times you can tell from the public image that's put out whether or not that person is for you or not for you. So even when I'm doing that 30-minute discovery call, I will let a person know I'm not your person. Let me refer you to the person who can help you. I have a really good friend she's a therapist, and I tell her, I don't do therapy. That's your role. So if a person comes to me even for counseling. And their issues are much deeper than I'm willing to handle, even though I'm qualified to handle them. I will make that referral. I'm not out just trying to take people's money. I
Yeah.
only want to be with those people who are assigned to me and those people who I can help.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
so
if I
good.
need to refer them to Neesha, if I need to refer them to Tasha, if I need to refer them to Deborah, if I need to refer them to any of the other coaches that are in my network, I'm more than willing to do so because I need to know who my people are. And
Yes.
those are the people that I'm assigned to help.
That is so good. And I can honestly say this. I've referred probably 3 or 4 people since Ruby launched to her because I really believe that you cannot do it all. And you should not be afraid to build somebody else up, which is what Neeshas Network is all about.
That's what Neesha Network
Don't be
does.
afraid to build somebody else up because it will do nothing but encourage you and it will
Yeah.
strengthen you and you to watch your family, friends, loved ones, or people that need help. You can't do it all. You have to discover who, and that's why I love referring. Let me send you
Mhm.
to this resource because it makes a world of difference. Wow, you know what, you guys, you all should log on to rubyepowell.com, rubyepowell.com. You all need to learn how to take a leap of faith. Yes, absolutely, positively, and know that this is your time. And I
Yes.
highly recommend Dr. Ruby for a life coach. She is not just for your life, but she has such a broad view of the entire person, and God has anointed her for it. And I mean, she reminds me of my mother sometimes because she's an educator too. She reminds me of Shauna because she's a administrative and structured and very precise with precision lenses. But the gift of that is that she's well-rounded to see what you have and can listen to you and help you go where you're going. So you guys,
Yeah.
rubyepowell.com. Ruby, how can you encourage the viewers in our last few minutes just to say, what do you want them to know in regards to how what they can trust you with and to come to you and to sit down and get that free consultation and then pay for the life coaching services?
You know, what I want people to know from me is that you don't have to stay stuck where you are.
Yeah.
You don't. And if you don't know how to get to where you're going, take the opportunity. And as Neesha mentioned, the free discovery calls, everybody's offering one. If you don't know where you want to go, take a free discovery call. It's nothing but time. And if I can't tell you what you need, then I can refer you to somebody else who can.
Hold on, Ruby. Hold on 1 second
Yes.
because I want to pause right there because something came to me and I want you to address it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have that 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
and how many people do we know that have gotten stuck and bored in that and said, I just want to do something else? I want to say that because this is for you. And
Yes.
I want her to address that because just doesn't mean quit, but it
Right.
does mean let something ignite inside of you to
Mm-hmm.
actually make it happen. So the last, I mean, if you could just encourage in these last couple minutes that area, because I heard that very clearly that many people get stuck in, well, this brings in the bread and butter. Well, this gives me insurance. So please just
Mm-hmm.
address that.
Well, you know what? I'm so glad you said that, Neesha, because I can't tell you how many times I have taken a leap of faith and left good jobs because my peace of mind was more important to me than a paycheck. I've sacrificed along the way. I've had to make some changes in my lifestyle along the way, but your peace of mind is your responsibility. And so if that job is a dead end job, you're miserable, you get sick on Sundays just thinking about the fact that Monday morning is coming and you got to go to that job.
Yes.
I know I've talked to people, I've coached people like that that literally get physically sick. And my answer to them is, what are you going to do to make a change? What are you going to do so that you don't have to get sick? Let's
Yes.
talk you through that. You are your most valuable commodity.
Yes.
Without you, You can't pour from an empty vessel. And so
Yeah.
if you're empty, you can't fill anybody else's cup because you're empty. And so recognize yourself as your most valuable commodity and know that you are more important than anything else or anybody else. And guess what? Money is currency. It comes and it goes. And if
Yeah.
you give it out, it's going to come back to you. So don't get stuck in, I've got to stay here because this is what pays the bills.
Yeah.
Let me just be transparent for a hot second. And I'm not bragging, but I'm boasting in the confidence that I have not only in God, but in the value of investment. My husband felt led for me to leave a 6+ figure job. And I'm not just talking about 6 figures, I'm talking 6+ figures. And he's a business owner as well. And so he felt led for me to do that because he knew what my assignment was. And me being on that job was not allowing me to fulfill my assignments. And my assignment, he called me one day at work and said, honey, get an agreement with me that you will make August 31st, 2016, your last day on that job. And immediately I got an agreement because I knew that that wasn't something that my husband would frivolously ask. And so I did. I got an agreement with him because I knew that on the other side of his ask, he had already talked to God and God had already given him an answer. And so I appreciate not just my husband, but I appreciate the spirit that will allow me to step out on faith and to walk on the water, even when the water is troubled, and still get to the other side.
Yes. Yes.
So you have to take a risk on yourself. You have to take a risk to step out of the boat, knowing that you will walk across the water or you will float.
Whew. This was so good today, Ruby. Thank you so much. I mean, it's so much, you guys. You can find Ruby on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all social media platforms, as well as rubyepowell.com, you guys. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, if you set up your free discovery call, your life will be changed in 30 minutes and you'll be hungry for the next sessions that she can provide for you. You'll develop that CEO mindset. You will invest in the power, know that there's value in the power of investment, and you'll also begin to walk in your purpose and your God ordained assignment. So thank you so much, Ruby. Today I'm like full, like I'm excited every time she talks because there's such richness in there. And I just had another thought I'll share with you later. I know God is going to do it, so I'm super excited about it. But anyway, you guys, it's been a great Wednesday for We Work Wednesday. Thank you so much, Ruby. You all subscribe. Just I'm gonna
Thank
say,
you for having me.
Right now, those few people that are subscribing and you're showing up, subscribe to Neeshas Network on YouTube and go like the Neeshas Network page. And if you want to subscribe, go to neeshasnetwork.com and come on and join this community. It's a blessing. It's been a great Wednesday, you guys. Don't forget to develop and adopt your CEO mindset.
Adopt the CEO mindset. Because then from there, you will know your worth and then add tax.
Oh, that's a whole another workshop. Ruby,
I have that workshop coming up in December. Adopting the CEO mindset is in October, and know your worth and then add tax is December. I think it's December 18th. You can find that information on my web. Yep, you can find that information on my website.
All right. We love you.
Thank you for having me, Neesha. Love you.
Love you.
Yeah. Oh, we gon' put your business on display.